You need grit. You need grit, resilience. If you're like done with education, like I'm done with school, then being a small business is not for you because you're continuously learning and it is a learning curve. And just when you think you have something down, you have to learn something new.
That was Jean Guzman, founder of Aura Heights, and this is Epicenter NYC. We connect our communities to news, information, and each other. I'm your host, Amber Castillo. It's New York Fashion Week, a time when designers, brands, and creatives take center stage. But beyond the runways, fashion sparks conversation about identity, culture, and representation. So what does it mean to build a brand with purpose, one that reflects the communities it serves? Designer and entrepreneur Jean Guzman has done just that with Aura Heights, a Latina-owned lifestyle brand that highlights the diversity of the Latino community, including Afro-Latinos and LGBTQ individuals. Jean didn't come from a traditional fashion background. She's an educator who turned a personal realization about culture and representation into a business. Today, we sit down with Jean to learn more about entrepreneurship and how she balances creativity with the realities of running a brand. She also shares more about the faceless Dominican doll, a cultural symbol that inspired one of her first designs, and how she's working to make fashion more inclusive and sustainable. Before we jump in, a quick message from our team.
Hi, I'm Mariana from the Epicenter NYC team, and I have an important health question. Have you experienced unexpected brain fog, fatigue, or mood changes? These may be symptoms of long COVID. Most people who have COVID-19 completely recover, but some have lasting symptoms and health problems. If you need more information about what this means, we can help. Long COVID is real. You can stay protected by keeping up to date with your vaccines. Don't let COVID derail your health. Schedule your appointment today. Send us a note at hello@epicenter-nyc.com or call or text us at 917-818-2690.
Now back to the show. Here's my conversation with Jean.
Hola, I'm Jean Guzman, and I am the founder of Aura Heights, small Latina-owned small business.
Could you tell me more about your business?
So it's a lifestyle brand, and it's mostly for females. We do have for male and LGBTQ, and it is for underrepresented communities like Latinos and underrepresented communities within the Latinos like Afro-Latinos and also LGBTQ.
Tell me what makes your business special, especially as you talk about some of these underrepresented groups that this is for.
There's plenty of brands emerging, no, that highlight who we are, the Latino culture. Some are more specific, and I wanted something that is inclusive to everyone.
Could you tell me the story of how you even got interested in this?
Bueno, my background is education, so the education plays a role on the design, and it started with the faceless Dominican doll. Some people know about this doll. It's basically like a porcelain figurine, and it doesn't have rostro, a face, because the artist struggled with our features, defining our features because we're such a rich culture. So she purposely left it like that. And I remember my mom on a recent trip, she was like, oh, te trajo una muñeca. And I'm like, why, ma? That's so outdated. Eso recoge polvo. And she was like, ay, no diga eso. And I said, man, if I feel that way, how do others feel? Do people even know within the Dominican community, do they even know about the faceless Dominican doll? And that is what propelled the interest. And I was like, how can I make this more modern? What can I do with it that I want to use it? So it actually started as party decorations. So it's the muñeca, super cute, but my lack of business background, I started it during the pandemic. You couldn't have parties during the pandemic. So what are you doing with these party decorations? And I was being requested. I was like, they were like, hey, can you put the design on a shirt? So I started putting a design on a shirt, and por ahí empezó.
And you started the business during the pandemic. Could you tell me about what that was like?
That was a deep dive. You want to talk about a learning curve? Prior to the pandemic, I never had social media, never interested. And looking back, I would have liked to do it just to make more contacts and networking prior to the business. So starting at zero, it was learning about business, getting all my creative ideas together, like aligning them, and then also learning about social media and how to post.
How did you learn all these facets of the business?
Imagínate, it was the pandemic, girl. We were home. So I had time. And searching, I found a network called the Mujerista. And through Mujerista, I have made so many contacts, including like a business coach, which is Ashley K. Stoyanov. She released a book for Latinas. So she was my business coach. So I've made such great connections, and it all started from the Mujerista.
What challenges did you face in starting up a business?
De todo un poco, girl. Wow. Because when I started with the party decorations, I was like, all right, I'm going to build my own website. Then that's how I learned about finding people for specific issues that I had with the website. So I got on Fiverr and I got a lot of help with that. Also, obviously, watching YouTube videos. So that was very tedious. And also, the lighting and, let me buy this gadget. And then you spiral a little and end up buying so many things you don't need. So that's also something that it comes with the territory.
If you could talk about some of the learnings from those challenges, or are you still navigating some of those?
I would say it's just marketing. As far as learning about the business, yes, I have the foundation, the technical stuff like a website that's been handled, the paperwork, trademarking, everything, the legal stuff that's done. But it's really the marketing, because it really has to do with your idea. How do you want to reach your people? And need money for that. As viral as you think you're going to get, ojos que no ven, corazón que no siente. So you need a marketing budget. And that is something that when I started the business, I certainly did not have.
Could you say that expression or the proverb in English for our English language speakers?
Oh, of course. Ojos que no ven, corazón que no siente. Ojos are your eyes, you can't see. So whatever you don't see, you can't feel. And seeing something is what brings out the emotion. And if you don't know that it exists, you're not going to feel a type of way.
Yeah. And if you could connect the dots a little bit. So starting with the party decorations, and at what point did this become like apparel and other lifestyle accessories? And yeah, if you could speak a little bit about that transition.
So the party supplies were never supposed to be physical, right? I said, okay, Etsy, people download. I have friends that they want a specific party design for their kids and things that are specific, and they print it out. I'm like, that's what I'm going towards. And the design was with the muñeca, it could be for any occasion. So you hear, this is genius. People are going to download it. Pero I was making samples of it for pictures. And people wanted me to do it. And that was a time constraint. And I said, is this really worth the time if you want to reach more people? And I was getting more and more requests for clothes than I was for the decorations. That's like business 101. You can't create demand for something. You have to fulfill the demand. And the demand was in the apparel and the accessories.
In terms of your schedule, were you making this like educator by day, apparel designer by night?
Como quien dice, it comes in waves, right? So like summertime, educators are off, right? We're on vacation. So I was really trying to maximize the time that I was off.
And what would you say being a small business owner means to you?
You need grit. You need grit, resilience. If you're like done with education, like I'm done with school, then being a small business is not for you, because you're continuously learning, and it is a learning curve. And just when you think you have something down, you have to learn something new.
What brings you the most joy in running this business?
Comes down to culture. I ask my students the question, like, why do we need to learn another language? And they're like, oh, because they make us. And I said, well, there's so much technology now that who knows what's going to happen in the future. You have instant translating. Said the best part of learning another language is its culture. So that's what I'm really enjoying, is fusing the education with the culture through a lifestyle brand.
Yeah, you just mentioned it and also alluded to it, but if you could just say in one sentence what the need is that you feel in the community.
Elevated representation.
And you mentioned before that, marketing is still something that's challenging. Yeah, what would you say are the biggest challenges you currently have in the business?
Wearing all the hats, you're good at one thing or two things, but not everything. And then that's where you have to find help. And that also costs time and money. Finding someone is time. Then you find them and it costs money. So it's really that one. But once you know and you have somewhat of I don't want to say a team, but you have your contacts because you're not constantly on payroll, right? Once you have your contacts and you know who to go to for what, everything flows better.
And what would you say are those strengths you have versus like the ones that you might, reach out to someone else for their expertise?
I love creating. I always look at something and I say, oh, how can I switch it up? And that's how the design came about. The popular design is muñeca. And instead of it being the last letter A, it's the design of the doll. And then to be inclusive for the Afro-Latina, the doll is an Afro muñeca. And I'm always thinking about something. I have different designs that I haven't even launched just because it's the timing right. Also marketing, like that's a whole nother budget. So eso fluye. The flow is there for the creativity, and it's everything else that I find very tedious, like managing the website, making sure everything works. Also, the email list. How many is too many emails? Social media. How much do you post? All of that. That's very tedious.
What are your future plans vision for the business?
I wanted to continue growing. And in growing, I'm still conscious about being eco-friendly. So it is print on demand mostly. There's very few, I would say, collections that are ordered ahead of time. I don't want people to just buy to buy, and I don't create to just create. So it's very, soy consciente. I'm very conscious of that, of the overconsumption.
Could you say a little more about that? Because I did read a post you had on your website about, sustainability and how much that's a value in your brand.
Well, I grew up wearing a uniform, so I didn't have that much clothes. You have your uniform, and on the weekends, something you'd switch it up. And now it's been made so affordable that I question how much people value what they buy. And that also has to do with the design. The design is a cleaner look so that you can get more use out of it and hopefully not get tired of it. And then do what a lot of us do is hand it down to like a family member.
And when you say it's become so affordable, you mean fast fashion or?
Correct. Fast fashion has become so affordable.
What advice do you have for small business owners or aspiring entrepreneurs?
I would say know your why. Calculate how much time you really have to dedicate to it, because the money might not match the time. So if you're just doing it after the money, you will face even more disappointment versus getting satisfaction over the little things.
Yeah. And throughout this journey and all the, designing and thinking about the faceless doll, is there something throughout this journey that you've gleaned from that?
I have learned that you shouldn't downplay your culture for anyone. There are ways to elevate it. It's just not presented to us. So with time passing and, jumping on the bandwagon with Bad Bunny, but he's just front and center, not denying the culture and the nostalgia about it. That's where we're at. He is showing us that that's what we need, like getting back to the roots, getting back to the muñeca, getting back to dancing.
Is there anything I didn't ask that you wanted to share about yourself or, the business, the journey?
I would say one of the things is the designs, the inclusivity. And the same way I feel in a classroom that I want my students to feel included, that's how I want everyone else to feel when they wear their clothes.
If you want to learn more about Aura Heights and explore their designs, visit auraheights.com or follow them on Instagram and TikTok at Aura Heights. And if you know of a local business that you think Epicenter should feature, let us know. Drop us a note at hello@epicenter-nyc.com. That's all for today. Thanks for listening, and thanks for supporting us as we do our best to support our community. We couldn't do it without you. For more stories like this, make sure to subscribe to our newsletter at epicenter-nyc.com. Our intro music is All the Pretty Horses by Caravika. You can find more of their music on their website, linked to in our podcast description.